Thank you for joining us today. Dietitian Amelia and a colleague of mine, Angela, who is a dietetic intern. We are so excited to present this information to you. I think it's the most valuable information you can find in order to optimize your body composition, to lose that unwanted body fat away and gain muscle. Let's get started. So before I begin, I am just going to say a few things about myself, just so you know who I am and where I'm coming from. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist, an RD. I have been practicing for the last 15 years. I specialize in weight management, GI, cardiovascular, diabetes, kidney, and cancer. I'm an author and an entrepreneur, and I'm also founder and owner of Medical Nutritional Therapy since 2018. I do have the legal right to give nutrition advice, as I am a registered dietitian. I'm also board certified in nutrition support and oncology nutrition with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I do have clinical background. I have worked for North Shore over 10 years, and there's some other clinical jobs that I had before that. So let's get started. Macros. What are my macros? Right? Everyone wants to know that. I will cover that, of course, today. And I hope that you take some of these concepts and tips and start using them today. Of course, I'm going to talk about how to clean that unwanted body fat away. I will focus on building muscle, of course. There will be some tips about eating out and few of the most popular supplements on the market. Okay, so caloric expenditure and your metabolism and its role in weight loss. So when someone walks into my office and they want to lose weight, they expect that they're going to go into this misery land where they are going to be suffering and be hungry and walking hungry all day long, and they expect that they are going to be in a deep caloric deficit. Well, whereas there might be a need for some caloric deficit, it's not as bad as people expect. And it really is only one of the variables that determines your ability to lose weight. The caloric expenditure is just as important, and it cannot be neglected. And when I say caloric expenditure or metabolism or metabolic rate, really, this is how many calories do you burn in a resting state. And that, my friends, is golden and very important for you to know and increase and optimize as much as you can. So what determines your caloric expenditure? It is your muscle mass. The more muscle you have, the more calories you'll burn. Your physical activity, of course, your sleep. If you are not sleeping enough, if you are sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night, if you are burning the candle on both ends, you will have a hard time losing weight. And this is because your body compensates and starts burning less calories. Your stress, of course, plays a huge role in your caloric expenditure. So do hormones. So what are the things that might be holding you back from losing weight? Before I dive into the macros, this is something very important. And I think that more and more people are wondering why I cannot lose weight. Very often people come to my office and they have done it all already. They have increased their physical activity. Now they are working out regularly. They have tried several diets. They are following everyone on Instagram and Facebook that is talking about optimizing body and weight loss and everything. They have read it all. They think they know a lot, but yet, and they're implementing all these information that I found, but yet they are having a hard time losing the weight they want. They're still into this state of not quite there yet, and they're wondering why. Well, it could be a number of things. Insulin resistance is more common than you think, and really more common than your doctor can determine, because on a regular physical exam, the standard of care labs include hemoglobin A1C and glucose level, but they don't include insulin level. And insulin or fasting insulin can be elevated for quite some time before blood sugars become elevated. And when insulin is elevated, this is a state which I'm sure you have heard by now is called insulin resistance. When you are in a state of insulin resistance, it is a bit harder to lose weight. Thyroid dysregulation, whether it is hypothyroidism or subclinical thyroid condition, which can be actually noted in the physical exam with elevated TSH, is also a condition where you might be having a hard time losing weight. Inflammation. We know that the Western diet is full of ultra-processed foods. We know that our environment is saturated with environmental toxins, which in fact create low-grade body inflammation. And that inflammation, my friends, may be holding you back from losing the weight you want. Liver burden. When we have clogged on or burdened liver from ultra-processed foods, from medications, from alcohol, which can be seen with elevated liver function tests or ultrasound of the liver, you may be having a hard time losing weight. Unfortunately, even if the liver function tests come back normal on your physical exam, this doesn't mean that you don't have fatty liver. Fatty liver can present with normal liver function tests, and yet you might have it, and that actually can be determined with an ultrasound or another imaging method. Hormonal dysregulation can also lead to inability or hardship to lose weight. Why is that? Very often, I have seen people never really feeling hunger, true hunger. Why is that? If I ask them, why do you snack between your meals? They don't know. And I don't blame them. I understand. Very often, when you have been eating for reasons outside of being hungry, truly you might end up at a state of hormonal dysregulation. And when I say hormonal dysregulation, I mean the hormones that tell you you're full, you are satiated, stop eating. Those hormones are no longer heard by the brain. So you are truly not sure when you're eating, if you are full, or when you start eating, if you are satiated. And that can happen very often with emotional eating. And I see quite a few people with such complaints, and we work on the emotional side of things, and we can either work together or we can work in a group. I have a group that meets once a month, and we focus on emotional eating and really share ideas and figure out a way for us to combat this emotional eating and get out of this state of hormonal dysregulation. So the role of the gut. Now we know that the gut microbiome, or these bacteria residing in our colon, have such a huge role. They do so much for us. They are busy helping us or working against us if they're out of balance. When they're out of balance, there might be inflammation coming from the gut, which in fact can actually also decrease your ability to lose weight. And I will not say take a probiotic. No, truly, this is the last thing I will say when I realize that someone has this condition called dysbiosis or inflammation coming from their gut. Truly, we don't need to take probiotics. The first thing we need to take, although probiotics might have a role in our diet sometime, but the first thing you want to do is start eating wholesome diet, real food versus processed food, and your gut microbiome will improve. The gut microbiome also dictates your satiety signaling. So if there is a dysregulation in the gut microbiome, if the bacteria in your gut is out of balance, you may also feel imbalanced in terms of your hunger and satiety hormones. The gut microbiome also helps us absorb certain nutrients. It helps us increase the production of B vitamins, and it is there to protect us. And it is part of our immune system, a very important part of our immune system. Nowadays, we also realize that the gut microbiome plays a huge role in our food cravings, in particularly for sugar. Yes, the unhealthy gut microbiome, when it's out of balance, it feeds off of certain sugars, which secrete some cytokines and some substances that will promote the consumption of more sugars and more ultra-processed sweets. So it's almost as a mechanism that perpetuates itself, a vicious cycle. If you eat high sugar diet, you will be craving more of that. And the gut microbiome plays a huge role there. Okay, so in this presentation, one of the major concepts that I would like to teach is that in every single meal, we need to find the right balance between protein, fats, and carbs. And never have a meal that has only protein, only carbs or fats, but try to have them all. Why? Because a good balance between your macros is so essential in stable blood sugar levels. Right? We all want that. We all fear the blood sugar spikes and dips because they are associated with energy crashes, with cravings, with poor sleep. Very often, I see how people are waking in the middle of the night, maybe between 1 and 3 or 4 a.m., and they wonder why. Well, very often, more often than not, it is rebound hypoglycemia from unstable blood sugars. Enhanced satiety. When you have the right ratio between protein, fats, and carbs, you're more satiated. Protein and fats are important in providing satiety. That's why we want to always make sure that we have adequate proteins and fats in every single meal. Muscle preservation. And guys, muscle is preserved, built with not only protein, but also carbohydrates as well. And I will talk about that a little bit more later. I'm not sure if you have heard about this concept of metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility is when you're able to switch from one substrate for energy to another. For example, from carbs to fats and back and forth. When you are able to burn calories from fats and carbs more efficiently, this makes you more metabolically flexible. And you can achieve that by balancing your macros. Okay, let's get moving with one of our first take-home messages. Make sure that every time you consume a meal, whether it is a shake or a nice dinner, there's always proteins, fats, and carbs. Okay, proteins. Why is protein so important that everyone is raving about getting more and more protein in their diet? Well, protein is actually what we're built from, right? Protein is essential for building all of our tissues, and not only the skeletal muscle. Of course, protein is the building block of everything, and it's a building block of life. Protein is helping with our proper detoxification. Proteins are the building blocks of many antioxidants in the body, and protein is the building block of many neurotransmitters, digestive enzymes, and I can just keep going on and on and on about the importance of protein. So protein is what the body wants. Protein is what the body craves. So what about balancing your proteins in every single meal? Is it okay to have just a piece of fruit for a snack? I prefer not. I would say if you can, have half of your usual fruit and have some nuts alongside of that. Why is that? Because when you have the nuts, you are going to have some fats and some protein along with the carbohydrates from the fruit, which makes it more balanced and provides you with essential nutrients needed for the body. So make sure, even if you are having a very small meal, make sure that the protein is there. And very often people ask me, what are my protein needs? How much protein do I need each day? Well, this is actually more complicated, and I cannot say what are one's protein needs without doing a comprehensive nutritional assessment. As you can see on this slide, a daily protein needs can vary from 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day, or it could be lower. And that really has to do with your physical activity, your muscle mass, with your goals, and a lot of other things that need to be taken into account in order for you to find the sweet spot for protein. So what if you don't meet your protein needs? What if you have a cereal such as Cheerios with almond milk for breakfast? What is going to happen? You will be hungry soon after that. And why is that? It is simply because your body did not get the essential nutrient protein and made you hungry. So remember, protein has to be present in every single meal. And how much protein? Like I said, it could be anywhere from 1.2 to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day. But in general, I'd say for most people, it varies between 20 and 35 grams per meal. And this is a useful information for the people that are logging their meals into an app, and they see what is it, the amount of protein that they consumed within this particular meal. For everyone else, I just simplify and say, well, make sure that at least a quarter of your plate is filled with protein. You know your protein sources. It's either animal or plant-based. And yes, if you are vegetarian or vegan, you can meet all of your protein needs with diet without eating animal protein. However, you need to be more strategic, and you need to plan it better and make sure that you are consuming enough of high biological value plant-based proteins. Okay, what about carbohydrates? Are they the evil? Should you be avoiding them as the plague? Should you be on a keto diet and never touch a carb because they're ketogenic? No, of course not. So if you are at a place where you'd like to be and you're just maintaining your normal body composition and you have no fat to burn or no muscle to build, it is quite all right to eat between 40 to 45% of your daily caloric intake from carbohydrates. However, if your goal is to actually lose weight, then between 20 and 30% of your daily caloric intake should come from carbohydrates. And again, this information is helpful for the ones that are logging their meals into an app. And what about the very low carb diets? Why not? Why not be on a keto diet? Why do you need carbs anyhow? Well, carbohydrates are actually important in order for you to preserve your skeletal muscle. They are associated with slightly acidic environment in the body, and if you are on a keto diet and very low amount of calories come from carbohydrates, you are slightly more inflamed because of the more acidic environment in the body. They are often associated with constipation because people will not get all their fiber that they need. And truly, low-carb diets are not sustainable. So what is the sweet spot for carbohydrates? If you are not logging your meals into an app, that again, make sure that about a quarter of your caloric intake in your plate comes from carbohydrates. And here you can see on this plate, this is a healthy, well-balanced plate where half of the plate is filled with green vegetables, quarter is filled with carbs, and the other quarter is filled with protein. I'd like to forewarn you all about the carbohydrate trap. The carbohydrate trap is when you have a bagel for breakfast or a cereal with milk, where the protein is scarce, if at all. And then, of course, you're hungry again because there's no protein to provide satiety. You start snacking on a pretzel or something similar, and again, you have another meal, yet another meal that doesn't have enough protein, maybe like a Subway sandwich, a veggie one, or one with not enough protein. That, my friends, will result with weight gain. And it is simply because you fell into the trap. You are not meeting your protein needs. Therefore, you're not satiated. You're hungry all the time. You're always eating. You're always hungry, and you're gaining weight. Stay away from the trap. What about fats? Should you be worried about fats? Should you be avoiding them as they are the plague? No, of course not. Fats are an essential nutrient and they are important for hormone regulation, for growth and repair of cells, and of course their storage of energy. About 30 to 45% of your daily caloric intake can healthily come from fats. So don't be scared. Why fats? Why are they important for weight loss? Well, like I mentioned earlier, they do provide satiety. They keep you full for longer alongside protein. So they do have to be present within every single meal. They are helping some of the vital fat-soluble vitamins be absorbed, such as vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K. Those are essential fatty fats for growth and repair, and they are very important antioxidants. Fats are also helping with that blood sugar regulation because fats along with protein are going to mix into the gut and they will not allow the blood sugars to spike. Fats are also very important for those trying to regulate their hormones, so please do not avoid fats. They are sustainable energy and they are there to metabolize other nutrients. And comparing to carbohydrates, they do provide more calories. But again, I really never forewarn people to be on a low-fat diet. And you might ask, okay, I've heard about the good fats, the bad fats, and the ugly fats. And true, there are some good, bad, and ugly fats. And starting with the goods, the omega-9s found in olive oil are healthy. Omega-3s found in fish and chia seeds are also healthy. Then we really have a lot of foods that don't have bad, good, or whatever. They actually have a mixture of fats. And in general, those are still very healthy foods as long as they come from a natural source such as avocado, nuts, and seeds. And there is a lot of confusion about saturated fats. I think more people think that the saturated fat is evil and bad. Truly, that's no longer the case. The more we learn about saturated fats, the more we understand that actually there are certain types of saturated fat that is quite healthy, such as heptadonic acid. And those fats are essential for skin integrity and hormonal production. The bad fats, though, are the omega-6s, which we have way too much in our diet, and those are polyunsaturated fats, and seemingly they are the healthy fats because they may be liquid in the room temperature, but truly they do start inflammatory processes when they are out of balance related to the omega-3 fatty acids. So the omega-6s, omega-3s have to be in the right balance in order for you not to start those inflammatory processes that we're all trying to avoid. And of course, the hydrogenated oils are the ugly ones, and those are to be avoided on all costs, and those are found in some commercially prepared products such as cookies, tortillas, chips, and some other snacks of any sort. They have been made to be very stable on the shelf and last a very, very long time. However, they are quite inflammatory and they are associated with cardiovascular disease and significant inflammation.
So let's take a moment and change gears here. What are your goals? Take a moment to think about what your specific goals are. What is driving you to go to the gym? What would you like to achieve? Maybe those goals are health oriented. Maybe those goals are more aesthetic oriented. But take a moment to just think about what your goals are, and we'll go into how we can achieve them in a nutritional sense. So, when we're thinking about our goals, we want to clearly define your goals. So, maybe that is increasing your muscle mass, maybe that's decreasing your body fat, and we'll go into more detail about specific SMART goals as well. So, let's first begin talking about nutrition for fat loss. So, a healthy weight loss will look like losing a half a pound to 1 pound per week. That is in order to have a healthy fat loss. We are not losing too much weight at a short period of time, and we are being able to be consistent with what we're doing. This is sustainable. This is something that our body will react well to. Let's take a moment to think about the set point theory. This is the idea that our bodies are programmed to specifically gravitate towards a weight range. So, our bodies naturally want to be at a specific weight range, even if it's something that is in our mind. We want to be at a weight range that we would like to achieve, but our bodies may biologically be at one point that might feel better for it. Let's think about weight loss in terms of focusing on our protein intake and creating a small calorie deficit. This is going to help us maintain and have a sustainable weight loss over time. So, what is a small calorie deficit? A small calorie deficit would look like 250 to 300 calories per day less than what we are having right now. What does 250 to 300 calories look like? That would be examples of 15 Hershey's chocolate kisses, maybe 2 cans of soda, 15 Ritz crackers, or 2 small snack bags of Lay's chips. So if we wanted to decrease our calories by 250 to 300 calories per day, we would have to eliminate one of those things from the list. Maybe that's 2 cans of sodas. Maybe that's reducing the crackers from our diet. So, why do we want to lose only a small amount of weight at a time? Of course, we want to lose a greater amount of weight all at once, but rapid weight loss is not ideal. Rapid weight loss can very much so be detrimental to the body. It can cause a loss of muscle mass, it can have increased muscle atrophy. We can end up having nutritional deficiencies as well as a lower metabolic rate. In addition to that, we're going to be feeling hungrier, fatigued, irritable, and dizzy, as well as we have an increased risk of gallstones as well. So, in order to not have any of those negative impacts of our weight loss, we want to stick to that half a pound to 1 pound per week for our weight loss over time that will be sustainable, that we can keep off as well. So let's think about the protein and carb distribution. In order to have a healthy weight loss, let's aim to achieve our daily diet to be 40 to 45% of carbohydrates, 25 to 30% of protein, and the remaining amount of the percentage will go towards our fats. So let's change gears. We talked about nutrition for weight loss. Let's go into nutrition for muscle building. So, nutrition for muscle building will look like a majority of our calories coming from carbohydrates and followed by our protein. So we would want to aim to achieve our daily protein intake of 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day. And that's going to look like about 55 to 60% of our calories coming from carbohydrates, 25 to 30% of our calories coming from protein. So going back and redefining our goals, we talked about our weight loss, our fat loss specifically, and we talked about our muscle building. Let's redefine our goals. So, thinking about our SMART goals, these are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time oriented, as opposed to just saying, I want to lose weight. That's a great goal to have, but we want our goal to be smart. We want our goal to be something that we can critically think through and something that we can think about achieving in a specific manner. So let's think about a SMART goal for increasing our protein intake. By the end of 1 month's time, so 4 weeks of time, I will increase my protein intake by including one serving of protein at every meal and snack during the day. So that allows me to have a time structure. I know how much I'm doing. I'm adding one or having one source of protein at every meal and snack that I have during the day. And it allows me to know that that is going to help me achieve my goals. So, something that I get asked a lot about, no matter what your goals are, what do I do when I eat out? What are things that I'm going to have? What are things I should avoid? How do I go about focusing on my goals when I'm eating out? We are very social beings, and it's very often times that we all go out and want to enjoy ourselves, but also want to stay attuned to our goals as well. So, how to navigate when eating out will come down to making smart choices. Ask yourself, can I skip the appetizer? Can I skip the desserts? Can you be more mindful about your portions? Maybe get a smaller size portion. Maybe only eat half and take the leftovers home. Maybe that means having a healthier side, so choosing vegetables over choosing French fries. Also thinking about planning ahead. We want to make a great choice at that time. And sometimes it also requires planning ahead as well. So take a moment, if you can, to go over the menu before you go, and you don't feel so put on the spot at that time to make that decision. Finally, let's look at the beverages. Try and stick to water as much as possible. Both sodas and alcohol will be higher in calorie, and we want to avoid that as much as possible to negate those additional calories. So, moving on into supplements, we often get asked about supplements and how we can use those in order to achieve our goals. First, thinking about multivitamin infusions. These are very essential to our bodies, especially when we are losing weight. These will be crucial to be able to see progress as we are losing fat and as our body is detoxifying. Protein. There's a lot of different protein supplements that we are able to choose from. We have bars, powders, pre-made drinks. We want to be focused on the ingredients that are in our protein as well. So if you have any GI upsets or anything along those lines, you'll probably want to avoid specific proteins, especially ones that have sugar alcohols in them. But protein is a great, quick, and easy thing that we can be able to use to help lose weight, to increase muscle mass, and they're just going to be helpful for increasing your protein intake overall. Next up, creatine. Creatine is a naturally occurring amino acid that's found in animal-based protein sources. These are very helpful in increasing your muscle development and also aiding in your recovery too. They can be found in a lot of supplements, maybe in a powder form, maybe that's in a pre-made drink as well. So, two more, we've got our energy drinks or pre-workout. These are caffeinated drinks that we can have, and they would be helpful maybe before a workout. They allow us to get a boost to be able to increase our energy at that time. And finally, our branch chain amino acids. These are essential amino acids that can aid in muscle recovery and help alleviate fatigue. Those would also be found in either a powder or a pre made drink option. So let's review. In the beginning, we went over thinking about what are things that we're able to feel comfortable with in terms of our goals, in terms of our nutrition. Take a moment, if you have a moment, to scan this QR code and answer just a few questions of how you feel at the end of this presentation. We'd also love to get your feedback in terms of what else you'd like to learn and how we can help.
So this concludes my presentation, and I'd like to say a few things about our services and introduce you to some packages that we can offer to you. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help to personalize the recommendations that we have, you can go to medicalnutritionaltherapy.com and request a free 15-minute phone consultation for us to talk about what is it that we can do for you. Thank you very much for your attention.